Marco Simoncelli. That all depends on what unfolds over the 12-lap sprint this afternoon here in Barcelona and the 24-lap main Grand Prix here tomorrow afternoon, 2 p.m. local time. As always, if Marc scores 10 points more than brother Alex over the course of this weekend, then he will have match point number 1 next time out in San Marino. He will have to work hard for it though, based on what we saw on practice Friday here yesterday. A Friday which went very much the way of the factory KTM team. What a start it was to this round 15. Pedro Acosta led the way in FP1 yesterday morning, looking strong and continuing his excellent run on the RC16, and something of a shock, a bit of surprise in the full hour-long practice session yesterday afternoon, as it was his South African teammate Brad Binder that topped the timesheets with a new all-time lap record to boot as well. Binder flying here in Barcelona, over a tenth of a second clear of Pedro Acosta. Then it was the Marquez siblings, not too far behind. Alex, a bit of a Catalunya circuit specialist, was third fastest ahead of Marc. When we say it was a shock and a surprise for Brad Binder to lead the Friday action, it was only the 4th time in his MotoGP career that he has actually led the opening day's action. Emilia-Romagna in 2020, the Red Bull Ring in 2023, and most recently at Motegi towards the back end of last season. 2nd Grand Prix in a row now that KTM have led the opening day. There's confirmation on your screens, and a 1:38.141 was Binder's all-time lap record best yesterday ahead of Acosta. Alex and Marc Marquez 3rd and 4th, already directly through to Q2, but Secchi, Bastianini, despite a pretty standard turn 2 crash, it seems as always, for the beast here in Barcelona. He was 6th ahead of fellow Italian Frankie Morbidelli, Johan Zarco, Luca Marini and Ayagura, another star on Friday, directly through to Q2. It is a star-studded Q1 coming up later on this morning, which will feature Fabio Quartararo, Joan Mir, Jorge Martin, and another former MotoGP world champion in Pecco Bagnaia, who had another utterly miserable Friday here in Barcelona. We thought Friday in Hungary was bad for the double world champion. Well, it felt like yesterday was a lot worse. No feeling, no confidence at all on the factory Ducati. Bagnaia outside the top 2 in both practice sessions yesterday. He said it would be a miracle if he finds himself into Q2 later on this morning. Brad Binder then with a big smile on his face after his excellent performance yesterday. Matt Burtley is still to be in the commentary box with Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. I'm delighted to say for the 2nd time this season we enjoyed his company, didn't we, a few rounds ago at the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. His former Red Bull KTM factory racing boss Francesco Guidotti who joins us. Seems sort of appropriate that you join us, Francesco, on a day after the Red Bull KTM factory racing team had their best Friday of the season. Brad Binder fastest and Pedro Acosta 2nd. Welcome back. And what did you make of yesterday?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the invitation made it happen. So yeah, it's nice to see them back on top. It's what they deserve, especially after the winter, the tricky winter they faced. So yeah, nice to see more manufacturer up there. There's Aprilia, there's Honda, there's KTM with Ducati. It's a nice fight. I think will be a super sprint race today.
Yeah, looking forward to the sprint, 12 laps at 3 p.m. local time this afternoon. Lewis, you caught up with Brad on the broadcaster set here yesterday, and he said this has been coming. He's felt these recent strides with the KTM RC16 have been moving him in the right direction. So finally he was able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together.
Yeah, he said to me off air as well, because of course we speak to most of the riders, if not all of them, on a Friday. He said it's really nice to come here on a Friday with something to talk about, having finished fastest on a Friday for the first time in nearly a calendar year. He said treating the weekend slightly differently, even on laps that perhaps don't seem particularly relevant to the weekend. He's trying to make every single lap, every single kilometre count in a Grand Prix weekend, and certainly pointing to the steps forward that KTM have made, which have been over a number of Grand Prix now. He says in particular the bike turns so much better, particularly in the faster corners, and we certainly saw that it wasn't just a KTM rocket down the straights that propelled Brad Binder to top spot. It was a bike that worked everywhere.
Marc Marquez, fourth fastest yesterday. His best work at 138.365. He's talked constantly in the build-up to this Barcelona battle about this track not really being one of his favourites on the calendar. Of course, tends to struggle, doesn't he? Particularly in fast right-handers. Catalunya blessed with plenty of them. Certainly the last sector, turns 13 and turns 14. It doesn't seem to matter though, does it? What obstacle you put in front Marc in 2025, he always seems to have an answer. Francesco, the last time we caught up with you was in Mugello, which was the second race of Marc's incredible winning run. It's now 7 in a row that he's won both the sprint and the Grand Prix. He's now so close to winning that 7th MotoGP World Championship. I mean, since Mugello onwards, just how impressed have you been with what he's done? Because right now he just looks on a completely different level to everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to explain. Also, I think for Marc himself, it's difficult to understand this dominance. Everybody was expecting Pecco and someone else to fight for the podium at least, but his level is way higher. So yeah, there's there's no more question to do to him. It's just we have to enjoy his riding style. We have to enjoy his wins. That's it.
Yeah, he's racked up plenty of them already so far this season. 23 wins out of 28 races so far for Marc. His brother Alex gets a nice reception for what's going to be vociferous home support for both Marc and Alex here this weekend. Third quickest yesterday was Alex Lewis, but he felt like there's room for improvement, time to find, particularly a little bit of understeer seems to be causing him some concerns in the fast parts of this Catalunya circuit.
Although Marc Marquez, older brother to Alex, is picking Alex as the current favourite coming into this Super Saturday, particularly in the 4th sector. Alex just had that step, which of course is all entirely made up of fast right-hand corners, which, as we've discussed, is perhaps where Marc is slightly falling short. But yeah, Alex also pointing out and accepting that perhaps he has had a few messy Grand Prix weekends recently. He's trying to make sure that he stays clear of mistakes. Of course, made a key one in Hungary, not just on the Friday when he got himself the grid penalty, but then qualified poorly anyway, which then put him even further back down the grid. So there are a few riders with potential to challenge Marc Marquez, as there were in Hungary, and those riders in Hungary that had the potential to challenge Marc Marquez botched qualifying. It's going to be so important for the likes of Alex Marquez, the likes of Pedro Acosta, that they don't make that mistake today.
Just saw there on screens Luca Marini. He's been having a good week, despite the fact that he's been laid low by a rather nasty virus, confirming in the build-up to this Barcelona round that he will be staying with HRC in 2026. 4 of our 5 manufacturers directly in the Q2 yesterday. Another sort of punishing Friday, I guess, for Yamaha. They always were kind of expecting this to be a difficult weekend. Catalunya notoriously low on grip, excessive tyre wear as well. Fabio Quartararo 11th, just outside he was of that automatic top 10 behind Agura.
Well, he felt he was a little unlucky due to the yellow flags that we had at the end of the session yesterday. Those 2 crashes at turn 2, John Zarco and Enea Bastianini. Quartararo, after his first time attack, felt that there was more times we found that he would have been able to get himself into Q2 with that. Alex Rins, though, was much more forthright, describing the levels of grip he was suffering from as purely unacceptable. Although Miguel Oliveira was slightly more positive, was the rider who's departed the Yamaha fold at the end of this season. Yesterday's running didn't exactly print a pretty picture for the Yamaha contingent.
As we mentioned, it is a star-studded Q1 coming up after this FP2 session. It will feature our reigning world champion, Jorge Marti, on the factory Aprilia, still looking for that sort of optimal comfort setting on board the RSGP. You might have tuned in, we hope you tuned in to the end of our Moto3 coverage with our colleagues Kiko Giles and Elliot York this morning. We saw our camera, didn't we, poking inside the factory Aprilia garage, and still it looked like they're sort of working on the ergonomic setup for Jorge on that RSGP. Still, he's missing clearly that pace over the explosive 1 lap on the RSGP. What have you made of Jorge's return? Francesco, I mean, he looked really good in Hungary. What a race on Sunday, 16th on the grid to 4th. It's just time that he needs, isn't it, to get back the confidence and understand what he needs out of the Aprilia.
Yeah, I mean, he needs time. Completely new bike. Too many injuries at the beginning of the season, very heavy injuries, so difficult to get back during the season when your competitors are on his own way. Yeah.
I think Miguel Oliveira's ride-out device, well, he was trying to jam the ride-out device and unlock it there. We saw him performing a stoppie halfway down the straight. Clearly, it's not stuck down, as you can see at the back of the bike. But Miguel Oliveira having a good look down. He has pulled over on the main straight, and the Pramac squad are already starting to make the long run down this quite long start-finish straight to go and retrieve that M1.
Yeah, not the way that Oliveira wanted to start his Saturday here. 12th fastest yesterday was Miguel. Only, well, not even 600ths outside of an automatic place in Q2 himself. So yeah, I'm Martin.
Yeah, so start the season while the others are already hot and comfortable on the bike with their own rhythm. Already 10 races done, and you have to start with your economic settings. You start from very far. Hungary was, let's say, pretty easy. The layout of the track is not too much difficult. It's very easy to understand, and there's no big interpretation. But here, I mean, the level of grip and layout of the circuit is completely different. So you need to have the bike under control 100% to make a fast lap.
We're just looking here briefly at Johan Zarco, who was one of our late fallers in practice yesterday at turn 2, which caused a few riders a bit of yellow flag drama. Just behind Zarco, we saw him on screens, Pecco Bagnaia, who at the moment looks completely lost. He said, shocking, disappointing his performance yesterday. I need a miracle to get into Q2. His worst at Friday since Mandalika all the way back in 2022. Out of the top 20 in both sessions. At 0 feeling, he said, underneath me at the moment. The bike is unstable on entry, on exit. I'm right on the limit, and I'm still only 21st place. What on earth is going on, Francesco?
Yeah, I mean, there's no explanation. I mean, for sure, this spark that light up the problem is a technical issue, for sure. I mean, lack of feeling with the front. There's some key that they couldn't understand, but at the moment there's not any technical issue. I mean, 21st, the 2 times World MotoGP champion is there's no explanation, proper explanation.
Oliveira back in the pits to diagnose what happened with his Prima Pramac Yamaha. You've been a team manager at this level for so many years. How would you be seeing the situation? Put yourself in Davide Tarlozzi's shoes right now, or G. Delina's shoes, in terms of managing a situation where you've got one rider who's just dominating, loving life and can't stop winning, and then on the other side of the garage you've got a rider who looks lost, low on confidence, low on belief, low on trust. I mean, how difficult is that to manage right now?
I mean, that group knows better than anyone else, Pecco. So they know how to behave. They know him in the bad and the good ways, and they just have to keep the method. They haven't to make any radical or extreme change. I mean, they have to keep the calm, the confidence, because we know Pecco's ability, but yeah, everything will start again doing normal thing and easy thing, no crazy thing.
In some respects, one of the secrets of team management, working out that what works for one rider doesn't necessarily work for another. One rider might need firing up, one rider might need the arm around his shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, we used to treat everybody the same at the same level. They get paid quite a lot, and you wouldn't lose your investment doing something crazy or something stupid. So I think Ducati factory is one of the best team ever. The staff is super high level, so they know how to behave with riders in the bad and in the good moment.
Yeah, he's caught in the eye of a storm right now, isn't he, Pecco Bagnaia, and he's coming in the shape of number 93 on the opposite side of that garage from Marc Marquez. Brother Alex is making the early front running in this morning's FP2, a 139.463. That's been thrown in by Alex. 2 Hondas just directly behind him. Joan Mir, who's got to go out of Q1, he was 13th fastest yesterday. And Jack Miller, of course, a rider that you know very, very well. Francesco, I'm sure you're delighted to see that Jack's going to get another crack at it in 2026. It seems like a smart move by Yamaha. Jack's got a lot of experience. There's not a lot of V4 engine experience in Yamaha's Camp 4 next year, so it seemed like it was a sensible move for Yamaha to keep Jack on board.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's the right person to make tests in a racing environment. He's always very open to test. He's always very transparent in comments, and yeah, he has the speed. Maybe not for every race or for all the championship, but I think they made the right decision having him one more year.
I like how you said transparent in comments. I'm sure there's a few,
yeah,
a few choice words. And we won't put those out before the 9 PM walk this year. This evening, but this bodes well once again, doesn't it, as far as Binder fans are concerned, because straight away in the hunt for the top 3 is the South African. Fastest yesterday, was a brilliant performance, wasn't it, by Binder. Filled up that new era update, certainly helping in these parts of the Catalunya circuit, the fast flying sections where that extra downforce is going to sort of glue that bike down to the ground. It's going to help with the turning. It just looks like a completely transformed character this weekend as the 33.
He's really attacking on board that KTM. Every rider out there on circuit at the moment, same tyre combination, medium front, soft rear. Temperature now starting to come up. Of course, there was a concern first thing this morning. We did see it already in the Moto2 session earlier on today. A rider going down at turn 5 with what looked like a lack of temperature in the front tyre. And it's interesting to see Acosta out there on the soft rear tyre, because he did a lot of work on that yesterday. And Acosta suggesting that that might potentially be an option for him in the Grand Prix tomorrow. We saw him race it last year, but we never really got the chance to see how that strategy would have panned out, because Acosta crashed in the race. Of course, many, I guess, are looking at the medium rear as the best option on what is a tyre-punishing Catalunya circuit here, but perhaps Acosta going his own route. And of course, the key for Acosta today is to qualify in a position that represents the potential of his bike, because with no question he didn't do that in Hungary. Would argue he didn't do that in Austria either, and it felt like he was kind of giving himself a bit of a pep talk yesterday when he spoke to me and when he spoke to the assembled press in the media centre. But he has to avoid mistakes in qualifying too.
It's now Mir that does lead this FP2. He's got down to 139.119. Looking to bounce back. How many times have we said this already in 2025? If we can get to another no score, another DNF. His 9th last time out in Balaton Park. He has DNF'd in 4 of the last 5. Not all of his own doing, we have to say. Last time out was his 28th Grand Prix DNF in 48 appearances for Honda. Now let's go down to pit lane then for the first time on this beautiful Saturday morning here in Barcelona. It was some Friday, wasn't it, for Red Bull KTM Factory Racing. A 1-2 for Binder and Acosta. Can they keep that momentum going throughout the weekend? We'll find out. We've got the boss, Akiayo, who joins Jack.
Yeah, he does indeed. Good morning to everybody at home. As you say, Bertie, what a fine Barcelona Saturday morning it is, and what a fine Friday, Aki, it was for the team yesterday. Just firstly, let's touch on Brad's. I have to say, from watching the session, I thought it was fantastic to see Brad looking like Brad on the bike for the first time in a long time. In particular, on breaking into the opening corner, we could see that style that so many people were finally starting to come out. I imagine that's through a lot of work to give him the front confidence that he needs to have the bike behaving like that.
Yeah, for sure it was positive Friday generally for us, and of course, as you mentioned, for Brad especially. And as I always say, it's like a process also. I would say that we see already that Brad is, let's say, finding the way in the last 3-4 races, let's say. And okay, he talked about front confidence, whatever, but I think it's everything finally the mental confidence, and it's built by many different things, and now he's in much better mood. And generally, of course, yesterday was important for us to have a Maverick back here, let's say, to finish the recovery on the bike. Now is the moment to jump back on the bike, and still we need time, but I think it's the best way to finish it when there is not any, let's say, medical reason anymore to avoid driving, so do it well. And generally, good day, but feet on the ground. It was Friday, and of course I see it like a long process, as I mentioned now a few times, that everything started already a few months ago, and as I mentioned many times, I like small steps. It's better go constantly by small steps. I understand.
Brad's spoken a lot about his struggles of maximising the soft rear tyre over one lap. So what did you find yesterday? What have you found in that process to allow him to jump up to the top of the timesheets yesterday? He took everybody by by surprise, the step he was able to make.
Yes, I say that it's process, and sometimes in the process, when the final click is coming and you are free in mind, you have this confidence, you can go. Nothing special, just a normal work. And in Brad's case, we were really working a long time already for the consistency.
Over a longer distance on race pace, once you've got some laps on the tyres, do you feel as confident that you can be as strong on the timesheets as what we saw over one lap?
Now it's important morning and we are collecting the final information, so we're ready to say.
I'll ask you in a few minutes then, Aki. Good luck, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks very much, Jack. Thanks as always to Aki Ayer. The message was clear, wasn't it, last night in the replicated Factor Racing Garage. It's only Friday. We're not going to get carried away. We're going to keep our feet firmly on terra firma. At the moment, Binder 6th fastest in this morning's session. Pedro Acosta for the 6th place is back in 12th spot. It's probably made Francesco of Acosta's recent turnaround. Of course, it seemed like he wasn't happy with the performance early in the season with the KTM. Maybe he got a little bit distracted by this prospect of moving on to a Ducati with VR46 in 2026. There was clearly some heated behind-the-scenes talks between him and KTM, but since they've had, or the air has been cleared and his head's back in the right place, he's been super fast once again. What have you made of his recent run?
Yeah, I mean, all these ingredients can make the difference between perform fast or performing so-so. But at the same time, they clear up all the table from this and that, and at the same time they get new parts like the aero pack, and then once the aero pack is better, you can adjust also electronics, and maybe you can then adjust a little bit the setup of the chassis. So everything together make this big step up to the performance. But yeah, I mean, I was expecting him up there. He's super talented. His riding style is one of the best, I would say, and also his approach to the racing is something that could make the life of Mark a little bit more difficult.
Yes, he doesn't seem to care too much for reputations, doesn't he? It was funny pre-weekend, I think. Did he take Marc Marquez out of his fantasy team, Lewis, and put himself in there?
He replaced himself in the cold team. Yeah, that's a sign of serious confidence from Pedro Acosta. He says, yeah, you'll come out, thank you. I'll take your place in that particular team. And yeah, we certainly know that Pedro Acosta is not shy. He is not afraid of having a go. Of course, his first two MotoGP outings at the start of last season, when he was a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed rookie in MotoGP, he immediately overtook Marc Marquez in Qatar and in Portimao at the start of his career. So yeah, if he's given a sniff of it, he's going to have a go. And you just know on that long run to turn one, the sprint later on, those KTMs, which are the fastest bikes in a straight line, are anywhere near the front of the field. They're going to be so difficult to stay ahead of.
A shot there of Marini sliding that Michelin rear tyre through turn 13, just the 14 down a Catalunya corner. Doing a lot of work at the moment, Marini, on a updated HRC chassis, which he's hoping to put through its paces once again here on a private test on Monday, without the sort of pressures of the stopwatch and the time constraints of the sessions. A Monday private test, actually, which will be rather interesting. Plenty to keep your eye on. We know there's going to be some spies here at the circuit of Barcelona-Catalunya in a couple of days' time, because we know that next weekend in Misano, Augusto Fernandez as a Yamaha wildcard will make a competitive race debut on this much-wanted Yamaha V4 engine. And Fabio Quartararo did confirm to the media here yesterday in Catalunya that he will jump on the V4-powered YZR M1 at the Monday test here. So there'll be a fair few people gathered at Fabio Quartararo's Thursday media scrum, I'm sure, at the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli next weekend. Doesn't sound, Francesco, like the V4 is going to be the magic one fix for all of Yamaha's problems, but at least they are going to put it on track next weekend in Misano and gauge where it's at against the competition.
I think they push a lot on the 1000cc V4 just to experience for the V4 850. This is the only reason. So nobody expect a big step up, a big improvement on performance on this bike, but they just are making experience for the next one. So yeah, I think it's a good choice. It's the right move.
Very busy, haven't they, the Yamaha engineers, working across 3 projects trying to develop the inline 4-cylinder motor, which does seem like it's reached its performance ceiling in the last few Grand Prix. They've been working tightly behind the scenes on this new V4 1000cc project in tandem with what will be their new 850cc engine for 2027.
Of course, Quartararo has said, I think as loud as anyone's prepared to listen to it, of the problems that he's had racing against the V4s over the last 2-3 years, really, since sort of mid-2022 when he started to lose his grip on that particular year's World Championship. And just the inline 4 just doesn't quite accelerate as well as the V4s, and obviously there's a bit of a snowball effect. You're getting beaten down straight by other bikes, and then once you're behind them, you can't overtake them again because they just pull away from you once they come out of slower corners onto straights. They just don't seem to be able to generate the grip, can they, from the rear of the bikes either, which is a real issue for them. They've already earlier on in the session of the rear grip issues that the Yamaha suffered, and particularly fourth right Alex Rins was about it yesterday. So clearly Yamaha are throwing the kitchen sink at the problem, and the competitive debut of the V4 will come next weekend, as mentioned, and we'll certainly see plenty of that. I guess it will be over the course of the Grand Prix next weekend, the Misano test, and of course all the private testing that Yamaha have to come over the next month or two to make a final decision as to whether they are going to race with that V4 across their full fleet of bikes for next season. Surely that's the direction they have to go in.
Yeah, you'd be gobsmacked, having invested so much time and resources into the V4 projects, if that's not the option that they plumb for throughout 2026. Mir still leading then this FP2 session. There's Oliveira trying to make up for lost time at the start of the session when he had a technical issue with his number 1 Y-Star M1. All 4 Yamahas yesterday were bemoaning the lack of grip, which is a common complaint here in Barcelona. Resurfaced back in 2018. We've got yellow flags out in sectors 2 and 3, so we'll keep a close eye and try and work out turn 5. And it is Alex Rins. I was just about to say, Alex Rins yesterday said the grip levels here now in Barcelona are unacceptable. Well, he's found himself in the gravel trap. Jack Miller said grip non-existent. And there, Bastianini saying you can barely, well, you're sort of too very tentative to even grab the front brake as you go down the hill into turn 5. It's so slippery and like an ice rink there. And it's at this very corner into turn 5. Alex Rins goes. That was like a crash in the rain, wasn't it? He barely tipped in, scarce any lean angle, just feathering that front brake lever, and down he went.
Yeah, it was the second time like that for Alex Rins out of the pit, so he certainly had enough time to build up temperature, but plainly not enough by the time he arrived at turn 5. Yeah, turn 5, turn 2. The 2 corners in particular where that kind of crash can occur, because they're the only left-handed corners in the first 5. Of course, the final 3 corners of the lap leading on to your next are right-handers, and then through the first 5 on the next lap are right-handers. So it's the left where you hit particular problems.
Fermin Aldeguer, a little bit frustrated with himself at the end of practice yesterday. Never really put together a clean lap in time attack mode. Said just too many mistakes, too many unforced errors. Saw Aldeguer slip down to 14th place he was yesterday. Currently sitting in 19th, on a good lap at the moment. What we made of young Aldeguer as a rookie this year, Francesco. There's been some flashes of brilliance. He's shown of late as well how good he is at managing worn tyres, which will be crucial here tomorrow in the main Grand Prix. Have you been impressed with what you've seen from him?
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed. So far, it's a very good rookie season. He had some highlight with podiums, and of course, in this condition, grip level and layout of the circuit is pretty difficult for a rookie. It's normal that he faced some problems to put a lap together, especially in the time attack. But I'm confident that he will be on the top group during the race. His riding style is very conservative on tires. The bike help him to just focus on riding, and and adjust the line. So yeah, he can have a good race tomorrow.
Yeah, this is going to be a big move coming in here from Aldeguer, 19th at the moment. This is potentially putting him top of the pile, certainly close to that top three. Over the line will track Aldeguer. Third place goes the Spaniard with a 139.307. And now there were several notable performances, weren't there, yesterday afternoon? None more so than Aiguë, the reigning Moto2 world champion for Track House Aprilia. Into Q2 for just the second time this season. He's only in the previous Q2 appearance, round one in Buram. We know what happened there throughout the remainder of the weekend. So Aiguë was flying yesterday. Let's get the thoughts of his boss, Davide Brivio, who joins Jack.
Yeah, great day for I to automatically go through to Q2 later, which I'm sure was a huge relief for the team. After a challenging period, Davide, with injuries not helping, how big of a day was that for I?
Yeah, of course, to start in this way is very important, because now it changed the weekend somehow. Now if you go whether it goes straight in Q2 or not. And yeah, yesterday it was good. I mean, fast from the beginning. But we have seen, I mean, you couldn't see on the results, but in the last 2-3 races his pace was very good. But the problem was always starting 19-20 position. So in Austria, in Barcelona, whatever, we had very good performance, but we couldn't show up. So hopefully being in the Q2, so you can start pretty much, I mean, in the middle pack, let's say. I don't want to be too optimistic, but then if you can keep up a good pace, the race can be completely different. So it's been important, and happy that we reached that.
On the other side of the box, I think a lot of people were surprised with Raul's struggles yesterday. When we were last here in May, he, of course, was leading the sprint and had a really strong weekend. So what are some of the problems he's facing at the moment?
Yeah, it's true, he's struggling, and probably it's something small, but we have to put it together. And now it's going up with a couple of different solutions to see if we can improve. Yeah, he's fast here, so we have to try to find a way to make him more comfortable, and that's what we try now.
Where exactly is he struggling?
But now, for instance, maybe he has problem on turning in some corner, but probably you have to enter a little bit slower, to not going too wide, to not spin too much the tire, and warming up. So he has also to adjust a little bit his riding style, probably. But I mean, a little bit of both. It's as always, no? The rider has to try to adapt, so we have to try with the setting. So we're working on that.
Thanks, Davide.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Trackhouse boss Davide Brivio. The high hopes coming in this weekend. Did Ralph Fernandez, his first front row start in MotoGP, was taken here last May. Of course, he led the 2 laps of the sprints before jumping off. 6 in the Grand Prix, though, he was here as well, from one of only 3 top 6s in MotoGP. I think he's also referencing the fact that yesterday, Lewis, he was running quite a high mileage engine, quite an old engine, which wasn't certainly helping him power down the near 360 kilometres an hour start-finish straight. So yeah, a couple of issues it sounded like he was having to contend with yesterday.
He has proven himself a bit of a Q1 merchant, though, hasn't he, this year? Ralph Fernandez has come through Q1 on 4 occasions since Le Mans, so this is a session he does tend to thrive in, although it does always, I guess, concern when a rider says he's not sure why he's fast at some circuits and so slow at others. But yeah, this is a circuit that certainly in the past Ralph Fernandez has had, I guess, the best and worst memories of his MotoGP career, all in the form of 1 sprint last year.
Antonio has just climbed up into the top 6 with a 139.329. Let's have a Bagnaia check, shall we? No sort of dramatic major improvement from the Italian. He's 17th at the moment in this session with a 139.758. Morbidelli and Martin just behind him. In fact, Bagnaia has just climbed up to 60. There he is. You pick him up. And he breaks now into the first corner, the most severe braking zone in this 4.6 kilometre layout, down to 139.747.
Familiar tales, unfortunately, from a Pecco Bagnaia point of view. Just able to carry that confidence and speed, braking on an angle, and also the initial acceleration out of corners. He's just not been able to pick that Ducati up and really get it hooked up. so rare to see Pecco Bagnaia struggling to the extent that he is. In fact, it's first in MotoGP, first time in his MotoGP career he's been outside the top 20 in both sessions on a Friday, just to give an idea of the scale of the struggles the two-time MotoGP world champion is suffering from, although he is threatening an improvement on this current lap, and he's also a victim of how close it is around this circuit. He's 0.6 of a second off the pace. Back in some of the previous areas of MotoGP, that would have probably put him somewhere near the top 6, but in 2025, on this day in history, it's P17.
Who's catching your eye this morning? Who's the one to watch, do you think, Francesco? I mean, Dramir's been impressive on the Honda. Fabio Quartararo's up there in third. Maverick Vinales come fourth fastest. Who do you think are going to be the ones to watch for the sprint and the Grand Prix?
Yeah, I mean, the last races Honda move up quite a lot, and also yesterday there were two Hondas in top 10, and also Yamaha wasn't too bad because they just missed the Q2 directly for a few millis. So now I was watching that Aprilia with Martin and Bezzecchi try the medium rear, but then Bezzecchi stop and get back on track with the soft. So maybe it's everybody more or less are focused to use it to use the soft spec also tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of riders would have seen Acosta's impressive pace yesterday over a longer distance on the soft rear tyre. Thought that there might be something in that for them. And certainly over the full distance race, 24 laps, the Grand Prix here tomorrow in round 15 of the World Championship. Looking back then to Marc Marquez now, this is going through turn 9, hard on the gas, and now attacking into turn 10. Good overtaking opportunity this, if you're brave enough on the brakes, into this tight left-hander, bringing you into the stadium section.
I don't know what's going through Mark's mind here, because as we joined it, Bezzecchi absolutely nailed him into turn 5, just piled up the inside of him, which is quite a statement of intent in a pre-practice 2 session. Marc Marquez decided I think he's going to fight the battle a little later in the weekend when there are points up for grabs, but Bezzecchi certainly getting his elbows out and letting Mark know he's there on this Saturday morning.
He's offered a fair amount of resistance of late to Mark's domination, hasn't he, Bezzecchi? He's led laps in Saxon Ring, Brno, Red Bull Ring, and most recently in Balaton. So seeing Marco Bezzecchi at the front of sprints and Grand Prix is not an unusual sight of late in MotoGP. Mark getting a close look at the factory in Brilliant Star now as they come through turn 3. This is where it's all about tyre management, particularly in the latter stages of the Grand Prix. That's where you can really chew up the right-hand side of your rear tyre. Well, we just thought we'd stay quiet there and leave it to our Barcelona tour guides, Marco Bezzecchi and Marc Marquez, to give you a close first-hand look at the 4.6-kilometre circuit, the Barcelona-Catalunya. Will it be once again, maybe, the Bezzecchi-Marc show in terms of the battle at the front? We'll find out. Join us later on this afternoon, 3 p.m. local time, for the 12-lap Tissot sprint. At the moment, Bez down in 9th place. Marc Marquez just 1 place ahead of him, actually on the timing screens in 8th spot.
So in the end, we had 3/4 of a second covering 21 riders in that session, all the way down to Aigura in 21st place, which tells you the kind of margins we're going to be dealing with in qualifying 1 very very shortly. Q1 getting underway in 10-15 minutes time. Also, of course, we will have 4 MotoGP World Champions, including this man, of course. Free practice to pace setter Joan Mir. And when you look at the 4 World Champions in that Q1 session, Quartararo, Mir, Martin and Bagnaia, Mir, quite possibly, has the best shot at the 4 of them.
Yeah, and if he got himself into Q2 now, it would be we were surprised by the fact that Brad Binder led the way in practice yesterday. Now it would be a monumental shock if Joan Mir was able to repeat that P1 in qualifying later on this afternoon, or later on this morning I should say, because he's only ever had 2 front row starts in MotoGP previously. Has Mir none since Portimao in 2022 as Marc Marquez lights up that Michelin rear tyre on the factory Ducati. And then just carries on spinning it up for a bit of his own personal entertainment there, I think. Just a little bit of fun to complete FP2 for the number 93. That was sideways, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was Pecco Bagnaia firming Aldeguer off the line in the Austrian sprint, wasn't it?
He's almost pointing at his fan grandstand there, which is just off to the side of the racetrack. A bit of debris there on the side of the racetrack as well, which obviously Marc Marquez was nowhere near. So, again, another session where more questions than answers for the Ducati squad. Who knows? Not a bad session for Marc Marquez by any means. 8th place. Pecco Bagnaia, though, 17th. And it, I guess, tells you just how deep the whole Pecco Bagnaia has been in this weekend. That that's as good as Pecco Bagnaia's weekend has got, really. P17 on a 139.7. Fabio Quartararo putting in a pretty strong morning session. A 39.2, although as you can see, his soft tyre didn't have as many laps on it as several others.
We'll get confirmation on our screens very, very shortly then of Joan Mir topping the leaderboard with a 139.119.
Super close between the top 2, Mir and Alex Marquez, just 22 thousandths of a second in it. Quartararo 3rd from Maverick Vinales 4th, Pedro Costa 5th, and Fermin Aldeguer, who moved up late on into the top 60. Gian Antonio 7th, ahead of Marc Marquez and Marco Bezzecchi, who spent some time together on track late on. Binder 10th from Zarco, Fernandez, Marini and Bastianini. Jack Miller 15th from Malaysia Spargo. Pecco Bagnaia up to 17th, but he's still got a long way to go. Yeah, Miguel Oliveira, Frankie Morbidelli and Jorge Martin next up. Igor at 21st. Alex Rins went down early in the session at turn 5. He had Soncat Chantra and Lorenzo Savadori behind him.
Well, ahead of Q1, we're going to say goodbye to Francesco Guidotti. Thanks for your company, as always. Francesco, enjoy the rest of your weekend here in Barcelona.
Thank you. See you next, maybe in Misano.
Yeah, our door is always open. More than welcome to join us whenever you want.
Thanks a lot. See you.
Come and see us next weekend in Misano.
Yeah.
It'll be a pleasure.
No problem.
Thank you very much to Francesco Guidotti. Up next then, MotoGP Q1 here in Barcelona. Welcome back then to Barcelona. It is time now for one of the most crucial parts of a Grand Prix weekend as we go qualifying in MotoGP. Coming up next over 15 minutes will be a pulsating Q1 session which features some of our big hitters, some of our biggest names in modern day MotoGP. Fabio Quartararo, Joan Mir, who's just had an excellent FP2 session, leading the way on the factory Honda. Jorge Martin, our reigning world champion. Pecco Bagnaia, 4 of our ex-MotoGP world champions, 4 of our last MotoGP world champions. All coming up then in what is sure to be a pretty dramatic Q1 session. Also through to Q2, Acosta, the Marquez brothers, Bezzecchi, Bastianini, Morbidelli, Zarco, Marini and Agura. Beautiful Saturday morning here in